This is the Jefferson Barracks Telephone Museum. The name tells you where and what it is. And it's a place filled with telephone history. Some of it you might remember from years gone by. Some of it might be only familiar from the movies.
Well, we're in this room here with the...
Ken Shaper and Carol Johannes showed us around the museum, and we stopped at one of those old switchboards to learn how operators first were able to connect a caller to the callee.
And plug it into that place where the light was on. She takes the matching pair of those cords and puts it into whatever slot matches who they need to talk to.
This was for a business, but the same system was used on a much larger scale at the phone company, originally for every single call.
Hello, Ed?
Long-distance calls, though,
This is long distance.
they had to go through multiple connections and multiple operators.
One moment,
And
please.
callers had to wait some time before the connection was complete.
Time required, about 5 minutes on the average.
But new technologies were always in the works.
When you operate the dial, bringing it around to the finger stop, and then release it.
And it puts a ringtone on that phone.
This really sped things up, but first, for local calls only. Long distance, you still had to go through an operator. You could tell her, always a her, the number and the city, and she would make the call. But after World War II, more and more people were getting phones, more people were moving around the country, and the number of long-distance calls just began to overwhelm the system.
Well, area codes were put into place because there actually were not enough telephone operators to handle all of the calls.
In 1947, every part of the country got an area code. St. Louis and half of Missouri, 314. Central Illinois, 217. And when local equipment was updated in your area, you could call the long-distance operator, and she dialed the number directly using the area code, bypassing all those other operators and speeding things up. The phone company had to instruct people about how all of this worked, selling the speed, the convenience, and the ad said, it's fun too.
Oh, hello, Mother? This is Jane. Oh, no, dear, we're all fine.
But it wouldn't be until the early 1960s when people throughout the area would be able to bypass the operator and use the area code to dial a long-distance call themselves. There came a point in some big cities when most all the numbers in the area code were being used up. Keep in mind, this was back when most people, most families, had just one phone number.
Today, an average family of 4, every single one of those, mom, dad, and the 2 kids, probably has a cell phone.
All these devices we have, whether it's cell phones, whether it's tablets, Apple Watches, they all have to be assigned a phone number.
So you have doubled or tripled the amount of numbers that are required.
And more than tripled the number of area codes. Missouri went from 2 to 7, Illinois from 4 to 15. And now there's the need to give the same area 2 codes. In St. Louis, 314, and now 557.
All of a sudden, you had to start dialing the 314 area code, even though you were dialing someone right here in the city.
Of course, we're not really dialing anymore, and in some ways, the area code often isn't a code for an area. You can move and take your cell phone, and 314 is just a part of the 10-digit phone number. And yet, for some people, those 3 little numbers still complete a connection home. For Living St. Louis, I'm Jim Kircher.